know, speaking of, you're no stranger to playing bass because I know your accolades as a guitarist. But getting back to Paul Gilbert, somehow the two
Yeah.
of you guys hooked up, and you were playing bass. I was checking out this video while I was doing my research today. It was called Freaky Tuning. What was it? Something like that. If you want to go down the dark web, folks, you can go find this video. And I was learning some Paul Gilbert licks, but then I got to the tuning part and I see a
Yeah.
certain guy playing bass with all the
Yeah.
whole notes,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that was you. How did that
Oh,
whole
yeah.
thing?
And when did that video come out? That was like at least 27 years ago. That video came out. But Paul, I actually met Paul when I went to GAT years and years ago, and he was, I think I was like 16 and he was like 20 years old or something. And
Which is
Paul has
huge
always,
back in then. Well, like you got to
yeah,
understand when you're 16 and someone's 20, it's kind of
yeah,
like when I first moved to LA, and like even though Nikki Sixx is not that much older, because he could get into the Rainbow Bar and Grill and I had to wait out in the parking lot, it was
exactly.
life. It was like a huge life difference.
It was, and but Paul was incredible at that point too, and a great inspiration. But I befriended Paul, and he, not only inspired me as a guitar player, but also as a songwriter, and he was very open to. He loved listening to obscure records from the '60s and '70s, and really cool bands that never became huge, like the MC5, like
Yeah,
and
Wayne Kramer.
songwriters, yeah, songwriters like Todd Rundgren, who a lot of people, if you were into heavy metal at the time, most people didn't cross that far into the pop and piano songwriter kind of guy stuff. But Paul was really into that stuff, and he turned me on to a lot. Ooh, look at that! Look at how sexy all those guys were. All their
Now,
stuff glowed in the dark, by the
was
way.
this band was this the band that you had of the Racer X offshoot Bad Dog? Was that Bad Dog?
That's actually Racer X right there. And
Okay.
but I was in a band with Jeff Martin as well after when Racer X broke up, and Paul joined Mr. Big, and a lot, the history of that. Like the rest of the guys in Racer X put a band together called the Scream. Do you remember the Scream?
Yes, I do remember the Scream.
And
Wasn't John Corabi the singer of that band?
John Corabi sang in that band for a little
Yeah.
while, and then he went and and joined Motley Crue.
Yes, he did.
And I was in a band with Jeff Martin after Racer X broke up, and we played for a little while. And but yeah, it was, everybody joined bands with everybody back then.
I just saw a dog. There's a dog in Guitar Center. I didn't think they left animals
That
in Guitar Center.
we have rats. That was a rat.
That's,
These
that's
fucking
holy
rats here
shit.
are massive.
It's
Yeah,
gone
I feed
crazy.
them.
Yeah.
I feed them,
All right,
and that's the only they don't attack if you feed them. They just walk around and they'll give them cheese and shit. It's great.
Speaking of all these bands that you started playing with, because it wasn't just Paul Gilbert, you also played in War and Peace with Jeff Pilson, and
I did. I played
that,
with Jeff Pilson.
and that's where my connection, that how I was able to get you onto this into this podcast to begin with. We got to
Right.
thank Mr. Tommy Henriksen for sort of laying the pieces of getting us all together. He was the Henry Kissinger in this sort of story, and he brought us together. He hooked up our emails, and I know
Yeah.
that Tommy and Jeff Pilson have been close friends. And then, I mean, what's
Yeah.
your association with Jeff, and what's it with Tommy as well?
Well, I was pretty young when I started playing with those guys. Oh, look at this, one of those wild rats. Um, but I think I was a teenager, and I knew that Tommy and Jeff were putting a band together, and I went and auditioned, and they loved my guitar playing, and I thought they were great guys. Jeff Pilson's awesome, and Tommy is awesome. Tommy's one of the most talented dudes I've ever met, and he can sing great. He plays all the instruments, and I was always inspired by that too. Like Tommy was really focused on songwriting, and those guys wanted to just write songs. I don't even know where that thing came from. It's wandering around.
Seems very
Um,
calm though for a rat. It's just very casual. You do have a good rapport with it.
we treat the rats really well here at Guitar Center. That's our motto. But Tommy was such a talented dude, and Jeff was so talented. and those guys inspired me to get even better as a songwriter and focus on that. And Tommy, as you know, Tommy's super talented, and I've known those guys for way too long. I know I still look like I'm 19, but
Yeah, you do.
I'm actually a really old dude. Oh, look at Anne Catherine Muller. Oh, yeah, it's a cute rat, Anne.
But
they're cute.
Oh my! Hold on.
So yeah,
guys.
those guys are great, and our drummer Ricky Parent at the time went on to play with Enough's Enough for a little while, and he was an awesome drummer as well.
Isn't it great how all these bands that you form earlier in your career, you see the band members go on to do other things, and then you're able to see each other later on in shows. And either there's a cool picture of you of Paul Gilbert.
Yeah.
I don't know what's he putting that up there for. Vic is just
could,
putting random shots of
you
rats.
can tell that Paul Gilbert is he's actually 7'3".
Oh my God!
Both those guys are really tall. Jeff Martin is tall as well.
Let me ask you this: as a guitarist, because I know that Paul Gilbert has freakishly long hands. That might do because he's a really tall guy. Do you have long fingers? I mean, I've always said, like Steve Vai, Paul Gilbert, Nuno Betancourt. I see these people having almost freakishly long fingers. Do you have long fingers?
My fingers are. I mean, I don't think they're super long. And when I was a kid, like when I met Paul, I saw his hands were like, and he can definitely do things on the guitar that are strange and bizarre. But I was inspired by because I thought, oh my gosh, like I'm never gonna be able to do what Paul does. I don't think anybody is ever gonna be able to do the things that Paul Gilbert can do on guitar. He can do freakish things on guitar. But I was also inspired to see that some of my other favorite guitar players at the time were dudes that had normal size hands, and some of them had smaller than normal size hands. So I've always, felt like it's not so much the size of your hands, it's more about the effort that you put into learning how to play the guitar. And
wow, that's a good life. What a nice life.
Yeah, you can definitely it's not the size of it's the motion of the ocean, right? I mean, your penis size does matter, though. I do know that. All the girls have told me that.
Well, you should maybe make that quote to someone that's like, pretty much going to have a different job come January 22nd. And if you have small hands, don't worry about it. You can still follow your dreams, right? Move on.
You can get a job as a guitar player as long as they let us out of our houses at some point.
Are you telling Trump that Guitar Center's hiring? Is that what the deal is?
Well, you never know. Maybe he can rock.
Well, some of your favorite guitar players, when you talk about short, smaller fingers, some have no fingers. Tony Iommi is one of your favorite guitarists, and he's got what's his deal?
A lot of people don't know that he actually cut his fingers off in a bagel accident. I think it was a bagel accident, wasn't it? Because that's I don't know if you know.
Cream cheese.
Damn you, the most common way. Everybody. I mean, I eat bagels all the time, and it's very difficult. You do not want to cut the bagel with a steak knife, guys. It's the easiest way to cut your fingers off. Just ask Tony Iommi about it. But a lot of people don't know this. I slammed my fingers in a door when I was years ago, and I was going to the hospital. It yanked my fingers broke them, and the fingernails were out of the skin. It was horrible. And on the way to the hospital, I thought about Tony Iommi. I thought, well, if Tony Iommi can fucking do it, then I can do it, right? He inspired me in my.
You might have done it on purpose then. I think that was like sort of one of those copycat pity things that you did, maybe subliminally. You never know.
I was actually, I was like, hey, I need to get that tone that Tony's got on the Neon Nights solo.
Slam.
Yeah.
So obviously we have this section of the show called Never Let the Truth Get in the Way of a Good Story. So I'm not sure if that's the truth, but it was a hell of a good story.
It's I've never told a lie.
Well, okay, not to me.
Yeah, and I'm going to let you judge whether that's a lie or not.
I'm looking at some of these other influences that you have. The one you do have a lot of the usual suspects, if you will. You have EVH, obviously a huge influence of all of us.
Of course.
Yngwie Malmsteen, obviously a big one as well. Is that you right
There's,
there?
that is, I don't even know who that is. Whoever it is, I think that's Eddie
Good
Van
looking
Halen, isn't it?
chap.
That
Yeah.
is a good looking guy. Works
That was
out.
yeah, but that was before that whole where it was still cool not to have to shave your underarms. Now everybody is like
Yeah,
all
I know.
manscaped. But I like it
Yeah,
that
no,
you were brave. Hashtag
I like
brave.
to stay hairy, kids. It's funny because the new AC/DC album, I've been listening to the new AC/DC, right? And I, I, I think, and of course, we've all been talking about Eddie Van Halen so much lately because he passed away, and he was a massive influence on so many people. And I, a lot of people, you know, of course, everybody was very heartbroken when Malcolm died as well. But I don't think I don't think most people realize that um, Malcolm Young probably influenced just as many guitar players, if not more, than Eddie. I think, I think that there's more people, more bands over the last 50 years have tried to rip off the AC/DC sound than any other band, and that was really all like Malcolm. I think Malcolm. I was listening to a interview with Angus recently, and the new AC/DC does rock. You're right, Hannah, and and even Angus was saying like this was Malcolm's thing. This band was he drove it, and you can tell so much of AC/DC is driven by the rhythm guitar, and Malcolm would just he wasn't flashy. He would just stand back there by the drums and like play the greatest rhythm guitar um,
Yeah.
ever. And I think he really did influence more musicians than
Is
almost
is
any
it
other guitar player.
is it safe to say that if there was no Malcolm Young, there would be no Izzy Stradlin or Gilly Clark?
I, I I would say that, wouldn't you? I mean, Malcolm, I'm sure.
I just did say it, actually.
Yeah, you did.
I
You
think.
said it, and I'm not disagreeing with you.
And speaking of AC/DC, that is a very hairy band as well. I mean, when you talk
They
about hair,
definitely.
they just don't give a fuck. They
Yeah,
just
that's cool.
they just let it grow, you know?
Absolutely. It's like
I mean,
they were originally going to be called Mammoth, but then Van Halen had the name,
uh-huh.
so they just
You know, moving down your list of influences, because again, the script, folks, don't follow the script today because we're here
don't
with
ever do it.
Satchel. Yeah, we're here with Satchel of Steel Panther. So everything is off topic, hot topic, everything. Yeah, you're listening to In the Trenches, live stream episode, our 50th episode. If you are just tuning in right now, hit that subscribe button that Vic can put up. But we are talking with Satchel, all his guitar influences, and of course, we're talking about herpes as well. But this will be. Do you think all your guitar heroes had herpes? Is that
I
safe
would
to
like to
say?
think I would like to think so. I mean, listen, all of my major guitar influence. I mean, like you talk about Eddie Van Halen, you're talking about Malcolm Young, you're talking about all the great guitar players from the '80s.
Yeah.
Like Steve Vai and
Steve
you know
Vai's
who I
clean. I can't imagine him with herpes. I can't even imagine. Really, dirty guy.
no.
Okay,
I
all
mean,
right.
I'm just assuming. I don't know for sure, but I'm going to assume Steve Vai has got herpes, among other things. He's a good-looking
Uh,
guy.
that's
Okay,
true. That's true.
I liked a lot when I talk about this guy a lot, but he was kind of like under the radar as well. The guitar
Let me
player
guess.
from Go for
Let
it.
me guess. Let me guess. I'm gonna say because I saw him on your list, and I was like, "Huh." I see the usual suspects. I see Alex Lifeson. Everybody loves Rush. Who doesn't love
Yeah,
Rush? Everybody loves Eddie Van Halen. But then you got this guy, Buck Dharma. And Vic, put up a picture of Buck Dharma. Do you have that picture for us? Oh no, he's just shaking
he's
his head
great.
no. But there it is, Buck Dharma from the band Blue Oyster
Okay,
Cult. And
let's go.
tell us about how he is one of your guitar heroes, because that really impressed me that you like
You
him.
know, they're one of those bands that I talk to like my friends who like the guys in my band, and Oyster Cult was one of those bands that you either got into them or you didn't because some of their songs, especially their early records, are they're pretty out there. They've got some
Heavy.
strange, yeah. Some of it's really heavy. I mean, they became a little more commercial later in their career, like with Fire of Unknown Origin and their hit was "Don't Fear the Reaper" and things like that.
But that
But
musical interlude,
oh
of
yeah,
"Don't Fear the Reaper" is insane. It's so
it
good.
is
In the
so good.
timing of it and everything. I actually was
Yep.
able to play at a festival we have here. I think Steel Panther has played Sweden Rock before. It's a pretty big
Oh
festival
yeah.
here in Sweden, and
Yep.
I was able to play it with a band called Blue Coupe, who has got the Burchard brothers, who are from Oyster Cult, as
Yeah.
well as Dennis Dunaway, household name Dennis Dunaway, original bass player of Alice Cooper. They call the band Blue Coupe, so I got to come up and guest for them. I got to play "Don't Fear the Reaper"
Oh, that's
with
awesome.
those guys. But learning that musical interlude was something, dude. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it is. And
that was all Buck Dharma, wasn't it?
all Buck Dharma, and it's a that musical interlude is all, it's kind of a strange key. It's like a harmonic minor or something, and
Yeah.
a lot of diminished stuff in there. But really, like Buck Dharma to me, like his phrasing on the guitar was so musical, and a lot of especially during the 80s when I was learning how to play the guitar and listening to a lot of guys, there was a lot of people that were faster and could shred really well, but I was always drawn towards Eddie Van Halen, who had it all, right? Like Eddie Van Halen could phrase great, and he had speed and accuracy, and he was clean, and his rhythm guitar playing was amazing. But to me, what made lead guitar players, really fun to listen to was their musicality, and that comes down to the way you phrase, your note choices and your phrases. And Buck Dharma had, there he is. Buck Dharma has
What a
always,
great shot. Thank you,
yeah,
Vic.
he's always been one of the tastiest guitar players. I feel like in rock and roll. And do you remember the song "We're Stars"? Remember that?
We're stars. I don't know that one. I'm sorry. I'll be
It
honest
was
with you.
it was a huge. Okay, you remember when they did "We Are the World," right? In 1983, Michael
Yes,
Jackson.
1983.
So that was a massive thing. And then the heavy metal guys went, we should do a heavy metal "We Are the World." So they had Dio and Jeff Tate and all these
I
different
think Yngwie's
singers.
in there as well. I think
Ingve's in
Yngwie's in
it.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you
And
in
they
it? You
no,
might be.
I'm not.
Satchel might have been there as a
I
baby.
wish I was.
As
I
a
think
baby.
I was getting one of my testicles removed that week.
There's a
Oh,
rat
look at this.
fight. There's
The rat
literally a
fight.
rat fight going on inside Guitar Center, folks.
You know what? This is what happens. These rats are nuts. I don't know what's going on. I fed them earlier, but they're going crazy right now. Here they
Holy
come again.
crap.
Look out.
All right. They're obviously going crazy about the Buck Dharma talk. So we're going to
They
move on
love
from that.
these rats. Love Buck Dharma. I don't know what it is. Every time I talk about Buck Dharma, they go nuts.
Hello, folks. Roxie here. Thanks for watching the video. And if you liked it, hit the subscribe button or one of the videos around me to watch more. If you'd like to, please leave a comment. If you didn't like the video, maybe you'll forget how to type.